So welcome to our special noodle class. This is going to be the 7th class we're doing, and today we are talking about Цукемен noodles, which is one of the most popular ramen in Japan. And so we're talking about Цукемен today. And well, my name is Akira. Welcome to the class that we are broadcasting from Yamato Manufacturing headquarters in Kagawa, Japan. And I think we are finally past the rainy season that we had in Japan. It's over for us in Kagawa, Japan. And we're talking about Tsukkemen today. And so we have there are 3 parts to this class. Well, one part is going to be the lecture part. We're talking about Tsukkemen, and we're gonna talk about the what it is and the noodles that are suitable for Tsukkemen. And we're going to talk about kind of details about how Tsukkemen noodles are made from scratch. And Megumi, our colleague, she's going to take the part where she's going to make the Tsukkemen noodles from scratch. And well, we have more stuff in background, but basically these two, and then the third part is going to be it's going to take place in our kitchen where we conduct our ramen school, udon school here in Kagawa. And in the kitchen, we have some of the school instructors waiting for us to show us some few examples of Tsukkemen dishes. And so that's, and then after that, we're going to take FAQ sessions. So for those of you who have some questions, please send us those questions in the comments, and we'll try to answer them as much as possible during this class. Okay, so for those of you who don't know much about us, what we do, our Yamato school, Yamato MFG, let me just briefly introduce ourselves. And so we are manufacturing noodle making machines. So we've been making noodle machines that are basically designed for restaurants, small production. They are designed to do Japanese noodles, ramen, udon, soba, pasta, certain types of Chinese noodles, dumplings and so on, dumpling skins and so on. And and we've been also running a noodle schools for people who want to start up their noodle restaurant businesses, noodle related businesses. And we've been doing that for 20 years. And so we have a school here in Kagawa, we have a school in Tokyo, and we have a school in Singapore. We have customers in different countries using our machines. We also have locations outside Japan, like South Korea, and then the Singapore, Netherlands, US. We also have partners in different countries. And so for those of you who are interested in working with us, please feel free to contact us later. Right, so we are basically a group of noodle making experts who help our customers succeed in their businesses. And we for example, we help our customers develop their own craft noodles from scratch, using local ingredients that they have. And so basically we'll help our customers with any type of noodle related topics and issues. So we hope to be talking to you guys pretty soon about what you want to do with the noodles locally. And so yeah. Okay, so let's start getting to the topic. To this topic. So talking about Tsukkemen. So as I've explained, so first 2 parts what's Tsukkemen, right? And then noodles that are suitable for Tsukkemen. These are gonna be a lecture part, and then you're gonna actually make Tsukkemen noodles from scratch by Megumi, and our instructors are gonna show us few example of Tsukime dishes in the kitchen, and followed by FAQ session. So if you guys have some questions, please send us in the comments. Okay, so let's start talking about Tsukeme. Tsukeme is a Japanese word, so that literally means like tsuke means dipping, and men means noodles. So it's basically like dipping noodles. So the first Tsukeme was created by the owner of like Taishoken in 1955. Like that's pretty long time ago, and was the Tsukeme like started getting popularity like from late 70s. That's when like many variations like Tsukeme like start popping up, and noodles were like served cold in the beginning with the hot soup. But like because like if you dip the cold noodles like in hot soup, that would lower the temperature of the soup, right? And so many restaurants like started offering like atsumori, that's basically like warm noodles. So noodles are cooked, washed, and they're warmed in hot water like when served. And also noodles are served separately with a bowl of soup. That's usually hot, but like there's like cold versions, especially in the summer. And it's actually one type of ramen, but like almost it's like a new category of noodle cuisine, because like there are many restaurants that specialize in serving tsukeme in Japan, and it's getting very popular like in different parts of the world. And like cold soba, buckwheat noodles, after you finish the noodles, and like that shop, right, the restaurant you eat at may encourage you to like drink the soup that's diluted with like light dashi or hot water. So it's kind of similar to soba noodles. And the amount of noodles is like much larger than the amount of soup. So this is some illustration that we actually have like in our blog and our website. So if you are interested in like looking at the whole picture, like illustration, you can check our website. And this shows like part of like ramen evolution. So like how ramen sort of evolved for history, and then of course ramen like started out like as a like noodle soup dish, and so you have like a good amount of like soup and then the cooked noodles in it. But for Tsukemen, you have like cooked noodles served in a bowl, and you get a small bowl like the soup, hot soup, right? But like this soup is like very dense in terms of like the flavor. So the volume of the soup is low, but like the soup density is like medium to high. It's like it's very strong flavored raw. So this is and then I think we had this sort of like style of like eating noodles before. It's typical, especially like in a traditional like udon and the soba, and then I think the Tsukeme was modeled after like zaru soba, like that's like cold soba noodles, because it's pretty much the same style of eating. So that's what a Tsukeme is. Okay, so let's start talking about like noodles that are suitable for Tsukemen. And so let me explain this chart. So this chart explains different types of noodles in terms of like noodle texture and then noodle size. So horizontal line represents how much water is contained in the noodles. The higher water content, the softer the noodle texture. Then the vertical line represents the protein content of flour that's used to make these noodles. So the higher protein, the harder the noodle texture. But if you see like at the right side of this chart, it's like noodle size, vertically lined up numbers, right? From the top, that's 1.0 millimeter down to like 5.0 millimeter, like thicker. And if you see that green circle, like on the right top, left top corner, that says like Hakata ramen. This noodle is like low in hydration ratio, like water content, drier, then high in protein content. So this is a hard noodle. But like for the size of noodle, like that's 1.1 millimeter, 1.3 millimeter. That's thin noodle. So this is a hard and thin noodle. But like if you look at the yellow circle, that says like Цукемен, dipping noodles. This type of noodle is like high in hydration ratio, like water content, but low in protein content flour. So this is a soft noodle. And for the size of noodle size, for the size, that's 1.5 to like maybe like as thick as like 3.0, like even there's maybe like thicker ones. So it's thick and soft noodles. And you see this, when you see this chart, right, there's a pattern. It's either like thin and hard noodle or like thick and soft noodle or somewhere in between. So you could have like noodles that are like thick and soft, right? Thick and hard. But that's not a good combination for noodle texture. Like, it's just hard to eat, right? You could have like thin and soft noodle. It's not a good noodle texture either, right? Because, if you bite it, then, that wouldn't give you like a good bite to it. So the noodle texture is very important for Цукемен noodles. And let's start talking about like ingredients. And the wheat flour is like probably the most important ingredients for Цукеmen noodles. We talk about protein in the chart. So the higher the protein, the harder the noodle texture, lower the softer. Ash content. So ash content is like how much minerals is contained in the flour, and you can actually find this value like in the product label, like a flour bag. Like basically, the higher the ash, the darker the color, the stronger the flavor of the wheat. And then for other types, like the regular types of ramen noodles, people wouldn't like this. They like this value like to be high in the flour that they use for like other types of ramen noodles. But Цукемен, that's usually like consumed like cold, like eaten cold. When you eat the noodles like cold, like you wanna smell like more of the wheat flavor, right? Wheat smell. So for Цукеmen noodles, typically this ash content is good. It's like the higher, the better. Like the stronger the wheat of the flour. So and then like they don't like care much about like the color either. So in Цукеmen noodles, so maybe like you want to have like a bit of ash for the noodle, the flour that you want to use for Цукеmen noodles. And viscosity value measures like how elastic the noodles become. So the higher the viscosity, the more elastic the noodles, and the higher the better, basically, for noodle texture. And you have to measure it like in a certain device, measuring device which we have, like this headquarter. And this machine is called a Brabender machine. And you need to measurement is called like Brabender unit, BU. And so like we have it here. So if you have like some flour that you want to test it, like you can send it to us and we can test it for you. It's free of charge. Okay. The water, so like also important. And the kind of water we use is soft water. The reason we use soft water is like when we cook noodles, right? And then when cooking noodles in soft water, then like the calcium and salt, like other ingredients, are like released to the cooking water. And in exchange, the noodles get absorbs water, cooking water. And in the process, like noodle gets cooked. But when we cook the same noodle like hot water, there are minerals already contained in water, like magnesium, calcium. So there's less room for these ingredients to be released to. So it takes time. takes time for the noodle to be cooked, the hot water. So like if it takes time, if the noodle cooked for a long time, then the surface noodle melts into the cooking water, and so we have like less yield of the noodle cooked noodles, and then because the surface melts, the noodle texture is not as good. So if you have to work with hot water, then you should use softener, which is not that expensive. And talking about water, so we talk about like hydration ratio, like the higher, the softer, the lower, the harder. So if you see the little picture like on the corner, there are like 3 types of dough, like low hydration ratio, medium hydration ratio, like high hydration ratio dough. So the drier, the hotter, the higher, the softer. So like, we're talking about like Tsukemen noodles, we usually do like at least like medium or high hydration ratio dough. Then kansui, kansui is something that you have to have for ramen noodles, and there are many variations kansui that are used for ramen noodles, but like for like a restaurant use, like for the noodle, like fresh noodle to be like expect to be consumed like in a week or so, we basically like use this type of kansui that's basically a combination of potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate. Potassium carbonate hardens the noodle texture and it changes the noodle color to yellow, and it has a stronger kansui smell to it. And sodium carbonate has exactly opposite characteristics. Softens the noodle texture, less coloring the noodle, less kansui smell. And basically we combine them at different ratios for different noodle sizes and the other conditions. And basically thinner the noodle size, the more potassium carbonate, because we want to make it harder. Remember the chart? Yeah, thinner the harder. And if you want to make like thick noodles, we want to increase the amount of sodium carbonate to make it softer, thinner the softer. All right, so that was the ingredients. Of course, like there are other ingredients we use for Tsukemen noodles, but like yeah, those 3 would do it for basic Tsukemen. So when talking about like making Tsukemen, like it's important to think about the texture, the right texture that's like good, that's suitable for type of soup that you're making for your Tsukemen dish. And this is a typical example that we do. For the noodle size, number 12 cutter, this is the number cutter that we use. That's 2.5 millimeter, and thickness is 2.2 millimeter. So this is very thick noodle for ramen. And then for this type of noodle size, right? Like remember the chart, right? So you wanna make it softer. So, but usually you for Tsukemen noodles, we usually blend 2 types of like different types of wheat flours that have different protein content, different viscosity value. So typically flour A, maybe like considered as like udon flour, has like 8%, it's like softer kind of texture. The viscosity value has like 950 BU, so that's pretty high actually, pretty high for viscosity. And so like it's very elastic. And then like we blend it with flour B, like it's like typical like ramen flour that's used for ramen noodles. Protein content 11%, viscosity like 700 BU. So we blend them at different ratios to have a balance of like for like a noodle, softness, hardness, and then like elasticity, the chewiness of noodles. And we add liquid to it, right? Liquid meaning the water, and the kansui we use powder form, so we dissolve in the liquid like water, and salt 1%. So 42% hydration ratio, That water 40%, that's pretty high hydration, like water liquid amount. So it makes it softer. Yes. So that for this side of noodle, we want to make it softer. And then going back to this chart again, like looking at the Цукемен circle. So the 2.5 millimeter noodle size, a 42% hydration ratio, and then you want to adjust the protein content of the flour that by blending at different ratios. And then your Цукемен, for other types of Цукеmen, that's thinner, you want to decrease maybe the amount of water you're adding, or increase the amount of protein you're adding. I mean, the flour you're using. So you sort of kind of balance to get the right texture for that kind of type of soup that you're using for your Цукеmen. Typically, lighter soup goes well with thinner thinner side noodles. Okay, so let's start talking about production processes of ramen, Цукемен. So this slide just explains how dough is built, right? How we can make dough from scratch. And the most important process in this slide is weighing of ingredients, the right ratios. So some of our customers measure the especially the liquid water by volume, by looking at the scale. But we always go by weight percentage, because it's more precise. Being precise gives you brings out more consistency, the quality, right? So you have to be consistent over and over. So we have to be consistent. So we have to use grams, weight, pound. Okay, so and the mixing process. In the mixing process, we are trying to make this phenomenon happen, agitation, granulation. So it's flour particle kind of come together to form crumbles of dough as it's mixed with the liquid. So it's gradually crumbles, gradually becomes bigger and bigger, and then the more water you add, the bigger this crumble. And we're also trying to develop this gluten structure that you can see on the image on the right corner. So to further develop gluten structure, we are doing this process called resting process. So we put the dough in the plastic bag and let it sit at room temperature for an hour or so, and so it kind of helps the develop the gluten structure. And the rest of the process, we're going to talk about later, when we actually make noodles in our ramen machine. Okay, and after we complete the dough, all we have to do is just thin it, right? Thin it to the final thickness, and then cut it and portion it. And resting again. So when we make the noodle dough into noodle strands, we usually rest it in the fridge, and then for a few days. Over time, the noodles lose moisture, drier, gets drier, and then the noodle texture gets tighter, and the color becomes more translucent. So usually we rest it in the fridge for a few days before we sub them to customers. And then cooking in a boiling water, and I'm talking about cooking again, right? So so you should use the soft water. If you have to with the hard water, you should use a softener to minimize the cooking time as much as possible. And the washing, and you need to wash them to remove the starch of the noodles, and chill them when you're serving them cold, and then after that you warm them in the cooking water if you were serving them warm. Okay, so and then lastly, like I just want to like kind of touch on like getting the right noodle texture, and then this is like a cut surface of the noodles, and so that when we cut the noodles, like when we cut noodle dough into this noodle strand, the thickness in this picture, like thickness about like that's 1.3 millimeter. That's where the cut surface is, like that's where it's called like rough surface. So that's where the cooking water is coming in, like soup is coming in. So after it's cooked, it becomes like this kind of shape, like with the like dents in the four sides. Then that's where like that's where like noodles in the soup is held, right? So this, if you make the noodles like after cooking, this kind of shape, it helps like hold more soup, right? So it's better texture. But like if you have like kind of reverse cut like noodles, like we're gonna actually touch on the next class, but like has like a larger surface of the cut surface, so it has like it absorbs more broth like faster, and if you cook it, the shape becomes like this kind of oval shape. So in terms of like texture wise, it's not as good. So and then they don't hold like as much soup as the other example. So getting the right texture is what you need to think about like when making noodles. Okay, so that's what I have for lecture, and then sorry, and then, like one thing that's really bad about like doing this kind of online class is that like we can't let you guys try what we make and what we cook during the class, but like and so we feel like really bad about it, and so but like we'll wanna try compensate for like as much as possible, and we have like 3 locations: Singapore, outside Japan, Singapore, New York, and Amsterdam. And if some of you guys are interested like in tasting the noodles, we'll try to get them available to you. And so some locations it may be difficult, but like if you're really interested in it, just feel free to like contact us, and like we'll try our best to make them available to you. Okay, so let's start making some noodles, and so let me show you guys the ingredients first. And but you just want to you just need a little bit of time to sort of like switch around the some devices, and okay, so the next class we already decided to do on August 6th, and for those of you like who are interested in like, it's gonna be like like IK ramen. It's like one of the most popular ramen in Japan as well. And for those of you like who are interested in it, please join us again like in the next class. That's August 6th, right? So this is the same ingredients that we talked about before. So this is the flour A, which has like protein, just like lower protein but like higher viscosity, plus flour B, which has higher protein but lower viscosity already combined in it. And so this machine has this 10 kilograms mixer, like with a minimum batch of 4 kilograms. And so that's 4 kilograms of flour right there. And then but first, we want to mix it just with the solid ingredients, just with the flour, because that we want to like get some air into the particles, like, and then like break some small chunks of flour before we add liquid to it. And she's got water, right? And then first salt, and this is country. And you need to dissolve these thoroughly to the water before you add it to the flour. So like setting it to 4 minutes, and it's like she's pouring the water, like liquid, into the mixer lid, which has like small holes, right? You see, so the water liquid is like drip through the holes. So you know, it's the water like liquid is added like little by little to the flour mixing. You don't want to add like, you know, a lot of like liquid all at once, because some of the flour has like more liquid than the others, so that's not really good. Like, so the purpose of mixing is a good hydration of dough. So you want to add a liquid a little by little over time. Okay, and but you know, the mixing time is 5 minutes because it's high hydration ratio noodle. The higher the more water, the shorter mixing time. It's 5 minutes. But we don't really want to wait for 5 minutes. So we want to start the next process with the dough like she prepared. So it's the same dough, 42% hydration ratio dough. And so she's feeding it to the roller. So this machine has a set of rollers, and then you can control the roller gap by like 1/10 millimeter. So she initial roller gap, like she said, is 2.0 millimeter, and gonna start like feeding the dough to the roller to make this rough sheet of dough. So it's coming out. So in this first process, like we want to go slowly. We want to apply pretty good pressure to the dough. So we're gonna go slow. Yeah, we want to go slowly and then like continually feed the dough. So Tsukeme noodles, like we think it's good for takeout and delivery because once you cook the noodles, we usually chill them with cold water or like maybe like even like ice water. And then, so the cooking of the noodles like stop right there. So, so the noodle texture-wise, it's kept like until maybe like consumed by the customer like at home. So we think it's very good item for takeout. And then, well, naturally that the soup and noodles are like sort of separated already. So the unlike like soup noodle dish, no, it's already separated. So the noodles are super separated. We think it's kind of natural that like it's for the takeout of delivery. In fact, like during this like lockdown, like pandemic, there are many ramen shops doing takeouts and deliveries of Tsukeme dishes. So yeah, it's proven to be good item for takeout and deliveries. So after first process, like we call it rough forming, and make a rough sheet of dough. Because it's still rough, right? It's still fragile. We want to make it stronger, firm. And how we do that is that we separate it into like 2 sheets, and we combine them through the roller. So we call it combining process. And that was like 2 millimeter roller gap, like this dough went through. And so but we are combining them again through the rollers. So it's 2 millimeter plus 2 millimeter equivalent dough is going through the roller. So it's 4, 2 plus 2, 4. So 4 millimeter equivalent dough is going through, and then we want to thin it. We want to sort of like apply the good pressure, but like not too much. So we do this roll of 70% roll. We do this 70% roll, and then we basically like reduce the this like a roller gap by 70%. So 4 millimeter of like dough is going through, and then so we want to reduce it by 70%. So 4 times 70%, 2.8, but like we run it up to 3.0 just to make it simple. Again, like at this stage, like we want to go slow to apply good pressure to the dough. So that was first combining process, and again, like we'll do another combining process just to make sure that it's firm, like the gluten structure is developed inside dough. So that was 3 millimeter roller gap, and we're combining them, right? Separating and combining, like so. It's 3 millimeter dough, 3 plus 3, 6, and again like 70% roll, 6 millimeter times 0.7, that's 0.2. But like to make it simple, we run it down to 4.0. This is 4 millimeter roller gap now. And after this point on, because we are not gonna do any more combining process, and then this dough is like pretty wet, so we want to dust it to prevent them from sticking. So this is the automatic duster that this machine has, and this is hydration ratio like kind of actually pretty high for this type of machine. So you want to apply a good amount of like dusting, and you can actually adjust the volume, like dusting volume. If you're making like medium hydration ratio noodle, maybe like you don't have to like dust as much as you're dusting now. And for a second combining process, so in terms of like gluten structure inside dough, it's complete. So all we have to do is just thin it to the final thickness. So again, like applying the 70% roll. So that was 4 millimeter roller gap that this dough is going through, right? So 4 times 0.7, that's 2.8. Like making it, to make it simple, like run it up to 3.0. So it's rolling it at 3.0 now. And from this point on, we can speed up the rolling, speed up the sheeting. Yes, so speed up and sheeting, so like it's going through like 3.0 millimeter roller gap. So it's again, like 70% roll, like 3 times 0.7, 2.1 millimeter. Like to make it simple, like put it down to 2.0 millimeter. So we're dusting like the whole time because this dough is like pretty wet. Yeah, we want to make sure each sheet is not gonna stick together. So after this round of sheeting, we're gonna actually cut it. Remember this, we are using the cutter, number 12 cutter, like that's 2.5 millimeter in width. And then remember the thickness is 2.2, right? And then suppose this dough is like it's going through like 2.0 millimeter roller gap now, but the actual thickness of dough is like always bigger than the roller gap we set at, and that's 2.7. 2.7. So it's like there's a discrepancy of 0.7. So the dough bounces back after it's going through the roller by 0.7. And so to make the final thickness 2.2 millimeter, we set the roller gap to like 1.5 millimeters because we expect so this is a cutter. This is a cutter we're going to use. That's number 12, like 2.5. So we expect that actual dough thickness to expand back by 0.7. So we set the roller gap to 1.5. Then we should get the final thickness of 2.2. That's how we adjust the roller gap to get the final thickness. Okay, setting the cutter. Conveyor and all right, so let's start cutting. Yeah, because this is wet noodles. We want to dust them again, like after like we make them into like noodle strands. So we set the duster over the conveyor where the like noodles are coming out, and yeah, and so it's cutting. All right, so let's see if the noodles the thickness is, you got the thickness right. So it's supposed to be like 2.2 millimeter. Yeah, it's 2.2. Or not. It's 2.2. It's 2.2. Okay. Right, got it right. So that's how we adjust the thickness, the final thickness, right? Okay, and so Tsukeme noodles are like typically like portion size is pretty big, and how you adjust portion size is that like you adjust it by adjusting the length of the noodles, and then you can easily like adjust the length of the noodles like by the volume, the noodle length volume, and you can make it longer to have a bigger portion. You can make it shorter to have like smaller portion. So it's really up to you. But because the cost of like production, like noodle production, like see like it's very short. The cost of noodle production is like pretty low. So typically like when you go to like Tsukеmen shop and they you what the deal is that like you usually get like the extra noodle, like maybe like one portion of extra noodles like free of charge, because like the shop wouldn't like mind giving like free portion of noodles because it's the cost of production like very low. So in that way, like you could give your customers like more value, like sense of more value by like giving away like extra portions of noodles, and so that's yeah. And yeah, the mixing is done as well. And okay, so let's see if let's see like some other types of like Tsukeme noodles we made previously. So has some different sizes, and then we made like noodles with the like whole wheat powder needed in them, different sizes, and then some like flat noodles, flat Tsukeme noodles, which are great with like a light Tsukeme broth, and see like bit of like kind of handmade, so like teuchi soba style Tsukeme noodle, like kind of like curly noodles as well. So all these types of noodles like are great for Tsukeme noodles. And so we use this kind of cutters on different sizes. And number 20, that's 1.5 millimeter. Got number 14, a bit thicker. And I have like number 16, 18. If you guys can remember the chart, like all these cutters like kind of fall within the circle of like a Tsukеmen noodles. So yeah, so that's how Tsukеmen noodles are like fresh, Tsukеmen noodles like freshly made from scratch. And so that's it for the it's like a demo part of the this class. And then so from now we're moving to our kitchen or ramen school, and so we need a bit of time like to get us prepared to move to the school, the cooking room. Then so we decided to start doing this kind of class because we thought like it would help our customers and restaurants like for kind of thinking like doing this kind of noodle business during this like pandemic, like especially. So we are like starting to do this kind of class as much as we can. So that was like once 2 weeks, but like we are starting it like every week. We're starting doing it every week, and we're gonna cover a lot of topics that are like well, a lot of topics that are like kind of you guys are interested in learning. So if there are some topics that like you guys are interested in learning, please send us an email. And then if you like the class, then hit the like button. And then if you guys enjoy or want to learn more of this kind of stuff, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're gonna be having more and more of this kind of class, and at the same time we're posting more videos that are contain very valuable information for you guys. And so let's move to our kitchen. So this is a kitchen that we have for our ramen school, udon school in Kagawa. We have the exact same kitchen in our Tokyo office. And so in our kitchen, we have different equipment, and here we have induction cookers, pretty powerful, high-powered induction cookers, and these 10 of them. So we cook the different types of broth from scratch. So during the school, each of these is going to be cooking different types of ingredients in the individual pots. So each student can taste how each of the each of the broth tastes, right? So they know how it tastes, and then they can combine them to have their own recipe broth, right? And then we're gonna be making tens of different types motodare, then flavored oil. So it's like a lab, where they can play around with the different components to basically reach their own ramen recipes. So some professional ramen chefs, ramen shop owners who have been running their shops for 10 years, come to this class. People without any experiences, previous experiences, come to this class to learn about ramen and udon, how to start up their noodle businesses. So we help our customers from A to Z to their success. So yeah, it's so after things go back to normal, I hope you guys will be able to come to our school and then join us for our learning experiences. So we have 3 instructors with us today, and let me introduce our instructors. So Mr. Ikeda is our chief instructor. He has deep knowledge and background in the Chinese cuisine, which is similar to the ramen cuisine. So he'll be teaching with us for a few years, and so he's been very good teacher especially for ramen noodles. But he also teaches udon school as well. Those of you who are curious about noodle cuisine, Chinese cuisine maybe, yeah, feel free to send us some questions, comments. Okay. Mr. Sun, he recently joined us, and then but he's been proven to be very good instructors, and he actually speaks Chinese and Japanese as well. So for those of you who are comfortable speaking Chinese, feel free to send us some questions. He'll be happy to answer them. Thomas, Mr. Takeuchi, he's from Vancouver, Canada, but he's a native English speaker and Japanese speaker, of course, and then he's been with us for a few years, but he's been a very good instructor. So we are happy to be lucky to have him to show us a few examples Tsukeme dish today. And so I'll pass it to Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Akira. Once again, my name is Thomas. I'm one of the instructors at the Yamato Ramen School. And today I'll be showing you guys how to make two different types of tsukemen. One will be tsukemen with thick noodles, and one will be tsukemen with thin noodles. So let's get going. First, I want to talk about the noodles. So we're going to be using these two types of noodles today. The thicker one's going to be one with the tsukemen with the thick noodles, and this one's going to be tsukemen with thin noodles. And one of the reason tsukemen is popular is because usually tsukemen is a larger portion than ramen. So an average ramen noodle portion will be around 120 grams to 140 grams. Tsukemen will be around 150 grams to 180 grams. So people that are wanting to eat more, it's very popular. Tsukemen is a popular dish. So let's get going with the boiling. So when you're boiling ramen noodles, make sure rapidly boiling water, and just dump it into the basket. And for the first 5 or 10 seconds, make sure to mix the noodles. And we're going to cook these noodles for 4 minutes. And these noodles, it will actually be cooked in around 2 or 3 minutes. But what you want to do is you want to overcook the noodles, and then after you boil the noodles, you wash and chill the noodles. And once the noodles are chilled, it's going to get a little bit harder. So you have to put that in mind. So you have to overcook the noodles. Okay. So while the noodles are boiling, let me talk about the other parts of this tsukemen. First of all, broth, the most important part. So this is a thick pork broth. And this one, the broth itself is a lot thicker than regular ramen, so that it will coat the noodles and it will be picked up. And this is the flavoring sauce. It's a soy sauce based flavoring sauce for tsukemen. And this one is flavored oil. This is mainly pork fat, based with pork fat. And also, tsukemen often has these fish powder. This is a bonito fish powder. And for the toppings, we have chashu, tomato slice, and half-boiled eggs, and radish sprouts, sliced leeks, and some thinly sliced chili pepper. Okay, let's prepare the sauce. So first thing we want to do is take 1 scoop of this thick pork stock. And we're going to put 1 spoon of this fish powder as well. This is going to give that fish flavor to the sauce and also that nice smoky flavor from the dry bonito flakes. And I'm going to heat up the stock. And next, I'm going to pour 1 scoop of this flavoring sauce. In Japanese, we call it motodare. So when you're making ramen soup, there's 3 elements: flavoring sauce, flavored oil, and in the stock. So you have to have these 3 elements to make ramen soup, and that's the same for tsukemen as well. So 1 full scoop of this flavoring sauce, and 1 full scoop of this flavored oil. And the stock is boiling, so I'm going to pour this stock into the dipping sauce bowl. So first of all, this is how to prepare your tsukemen dipping sauce. And the noodle is almost done. And once again, once you overboil the noodles, you want to wash and chill the noodles and also remove the starch around the noodles so it will be nice and silky. So noodle is done boiling. It's been boiled for 4 minutes. So to put the noodles into this strainer, and what you want to do is wash the noodles to remove the starch around the noodles. Next, you want to grab the noodles and bundle them up. And you want to use the other hand to line up the noodles. The noodles nicely lined up, so I'm going to plate it nicely. Okay. So going to put some chashu on the right side and some tomato and radish sprouts in the middle for the green. And everyone's favorite, half-boiled eggs. And lastly, I'm going to top it with some thinly sliced leek. And I want some red on top, so I'm going to put some thinly sliced chili pepper on top. And on the sauce, I'm going to put extra fish powder in the middle, so it gives more fish flavor and that smoky flavor to the sauce, dipping sauce. And obviously, toppings, it can be anything. Today we use chashu, tomato, half-boiled eggs, and radish sprouts. It can be anything. So this is how to prepare Tsukemeng with thick noodles. So because we're using thick noodles, the sauce has to be thick as well. Okay? You need to balance the sauce and the noodles for a good bowl of Tsukemeng. Okay, next we're going to be making Tsukemeng with thin noodles. So obviously we're going to start off with boiling the noodles. So we're going to be using these noodles, and we're going to cook these for 3 minutes. Once again, mix for the first 5 or 10 seconds. And cook it for 3 minutes. Okay. And for the Tsukemeng with thin noodles, we have to make the sauce a little bit lighter than the one with the thick noodles. So we're using chicken broth and seafood broth, mixture of chicken broth and seafood broth. Okay. And for the flavoring sauce, once again, it's going to be soy sauce based moto dare flavoring sauce. And for the flavored oil, it's based with chicken fat. We mashed the stock and the flavoring oil. We tried to match it up. So one we made before, the first one that we made, we used pork broth, so we use pork fat. For this one, we use chicken stock, so chicken fat. We match it up. Okay, so I'll start preparing the sauce. So I'm going to heat up this mixture of chicken broth and seafood broth. And we're going to put 1 full scoop of this flavoring sauce, moto dare, into the dipping sauce bowl, chicken fat, Okay, so we have a question. Why is the pork broth white? It's because it's emulsified. The pork fat and the water, it's mixed together, so it's emulsified. And in turns, it makes the stock cloudy and it becomes white. And we have another question. How many % concentration is a pork broth? The pork broth we use today, it is 15% concentration. So it's very thick. For regular ramen, it's around 8 to 6%. For Tsukemen, we aim for around 10 to 15%. Okay, so the chicken stock and seafood stock mixture is warmed up. So I'm going to take 1 scoop of this and into the flavoring sauce and oil. Okay. And the noodles are done as well. So once again, going to wash and chill the noodles. And next, you want to grab the noodles, bundle them up, and use the other hand to line them up nicely. Just like this. So the noodles are nicely lined up, and you want to plate it nicely right in the middle on an angle, just like this. And some chashu in the front, lemon slice, some okra, baby corn, and a red with a tomato and half-boiled egg on the side. And on the back, you want some vegetables, so mixed salad in the back and red onion as well. And also, I'm going to put some leek, sliced up leek into the dipping sauce as well. And we have protein, carbs, and also vegetables, so it's a nicely balanced dish as well. So you have some questions? We have a question. Did you blend your chicken soup and seafood soup? Yeah, we blended. We made chicken stock and seafood stock separately, and we just mixed it up. And this is just a mixture of the chicken stock and seafood stock. And we also have a question. What can be base? It can be anything. It can be beef stock, seafood stock. It can be even vegetable stock for making vegan ramen or vegan Tsukemen. Or sometimes people use what is it? Soy milk as a base as well. Sometimes for vegan. We have a question. Is it fat content in the pork bone that makes it cloudy white? Yes. And we also add extra pork fat to make it more like creamy and white. And another question, what other components are there in the pork flavored oil aside from the pork fat? We have some leek, garlic, and onion to flavor the pork fat. What is it? What's in the motodare? In this motodare, there's a lot of things in here. Soy sauce, obviously, sake, mirin, vinegar, and some clam powder, shrimp powder, scallop powder. I can go on forever. There's more in it. So if you're interested in that full recipe, it's hard to talk about it, everything here. So please consider a ramen school. Popular seafood brand are often used for ramen store in Japan. I don't know. I'm not quite sure about that. Okay, so that's about it for the questions. So once again, this is the Tsukemen with thin noodles. Once again, thin noodles, you have to make the sauce lighter, so it will match up nicer, pair up nicely. So let's bring the Okay, so today we made Tsukemen with thin noodles and Tsukemen with thick noodles. Once again, Tsukemen is a really popular dish in Japan. It's very filling. It's really flavorful, so everyone loves Tsukemen. And it's also great for takeout as well. It's because the moisture is separate from the noodles. One of the most important thing when you're making a takeout dish, you don't want to make the noodles soggy and soft. So to prevent that from happening, you have to keep the sauce and the noodles separate. And that's how Tsukemen is served. So Tsukemen is a perfect dish for takeout. Oh, we have another question. How to make tare for vegan ramen? For vegan ramen, I often use, obviously, soy sauce. Miso is great for vegan. Miso itself is vegan, but it's packed with umami, so miso is great for vegan. Also, some garlic and kelp. Kelp is also packed with umami, so kelp is perfect for vegan tare as well. What else? Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and shiitake mushroom as well. Mushrooms are packed with umami as well, so you can stack up some umami with those kind of ingredients to make the vegan tare. So we have a question. Are there any schedule for the ramen tare class? That's a little bit difficult because that's like the most important part for ramen shop. Ramen shop usually keep their recipe, motodare recipe, because that makes up their taste, and motodare is very important. So that's a very important topic for ramen school as well. So please, if you're interested in the recipe for motodare, please consider a ramen school.
So that's what we had like for this class, and then so again, like we are doing this more and more this kind of class, and for to help out like our customers, like to help out like restaurants, like those of you like who are kind of like thinking about starting to do noodle business, what we want to help. So we're gonna be like doing more of this kind of class and free class online. So and for those of you like who haven't like subscribed to our channel, like please make sure to do so. And we appreciate your time, like watching this class. And hopefully, like we're gonna be seeing you guys again, like in the next class. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.